Welcome to Living the Way, hosted by Pastor Charlie and Dr. Melanie Jimmerson. Step back and join us as we take a closer look at how the Bible really can and does apply to our lives today. We really do value your feedback, so write a comment and don't forget to share so your friends will be blessed as well.
Well, welcome back to Living the Way.
That's the way to live.
Yes, it is. Now, tomorrow happens to be Father's Day. And we decided to do something on fathers.
Yes.
And now, this is kind of, in my opinion, very unique because we are going to be talking about Proverbs 31.
All right, girls.
Yeah. Now,
Listen up. This is your time to shine.
That's right. Now, a lot of people think that, well, isn't that to women? It's talking about the virtuous woman. No, because in fact, the very first verse is actually, it says, the sayings of King Lemuel contain this message, which his mother taught him.
Which his mother.
Yes, but she was teaching him. Now, if it wasn't for him, why should she teach it to him? She wouldn't.
No, because he's the king.
That's right, and he's a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if this was,
he's got all the honor, glory, and all of that he can probably handle.
Right.
But his mother sees an area
he needs help in.
Right.
And so, and it goes on and says, "O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not waste your strength on women, on those who ruin kings." Now, it wasn't saying all women. He was saying, you got to be careful which woman.
Well, Samson and Delilah.
Yeah.
Let's look at Samson and Delilah.
Exactly.
Delilah was a very high-ranking woman, but she was still able to overcome Samson by her wiles and her ways.
And a lot of people think that this was written by Solomon.
Oh.
And Solomon, he had a problem too.
Yes, he did.
Too
many.
Yes, too many. And, so we got to realize that this teaching is directed to a son from a mother. Okay? So it is, first off, I believe it's telling us that we should respect women and learn from them.
Right.
Boy, that goes in the face of a lot of denominations.
Well, yes, it does. And it really goes in the face of the culture in the Middle East.
Yes.
So we're looking from that whole antagonistic attitude toward women in the Middle East has been there a long time. The Proverbs were written in about the year 900 to 1000 BC.
Right.
So before Christ.
That's right.
So we need to look
and also, that attitude is really bad in the South here in the United States.
Yeah.
A lot of the southern states have a real problem with women in authority.
Of course they do.
Yeah,
because they have been raised from Uncle Beauregard back in the 1700s to abase women to a subservient role. And they really pound that in.
And God never intended that. Let's just make that straight.
I don't think
Eve was not a second guess.
Right.
Eve was not second class. Eve was not subservient or below Adam. In fact, in Genesis, it said God called their name Adam. He had one name. It was Adam that called Eve, not God.
Right.
God called him Adam. He looked at him as they were equal. They were one.
They both had particular reasons for their being created. And we look at this as being that Adam was to name and be the husband to all the animals in the earth and take care of that, and she and Eve the Eve Adam
Yeah, the Eve Adam.
was the one who carried the womb.
That's right.
And so we get the word woman, supposedly we get this word from womb man,
That's right. She would. In fact, he says the womb of man.
right?
You know, that's why, you know, he called her woman. You know, of course, when I quote that scripture, I go like, you know, he looked at Eve and went, whoa, man. What an improvement, God.
All right, I like that.
Yeah, what an improvement. You know,
She
so
looked a lot better than that old buffalo
that,
over
that's,
there.
that's right. You know, our scriptures go on. We're going to try to, it's going to be hard for us to get
No,
through this.
we're having too
You know,
much
because
fun.
we're both teachers.
Yeah.
And we want to go into depth. But it goes on, it says, it is not for kings, O Lemuel, to guzzle wine. Rulers should not crave alcohol, for if they drink, they may forget the law and not give justice to the oppressed. Alcohol is for the dying.
Yeah.
The wine is for those in bitter distress. Let them drink to forget their poverty and remember their troubles no more.
I don't even agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol just does not help.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
And-
and it's not really for anybody.
Right.
But, you know, I had one guy tell me one time that the Bible said that it was okay to get drunk. And I'm going like, well, you're going to have to show that to me. He did. It was talking about a condemned man.
Oh,
And he
Oh.
said,
Well-
you know, drink, be merry, and be happy, you know, because he was dying. He was
well,
condemned.
they
you know.
offered Jesus
Yeah,
some alcohol on a sponge.
that's right.
But it
Myrrh.
was mostly vinegar.
That's right.
And alcohol, a wine anyway, will turn to vinegar in a heartbeat.
That's
and
right.
It's the problem that they have at all of the
But it was like an
winemaking places.
anesthetic.
Yes, it
you
is.
know,
They
you
put
know,
myrrh in it, and it was supposed to knock
That's
him
right.
out, so he wouldn't have to endure.
So, men, guess what? Don't be a drunkard. You know, people ask me all the time, well, you know, how much is too much? For me,
Yeah.
one drink.
Any.
One drink.
One of the things that we women really resent about our husbands drinking is usually the husband loves his drink more than he loves his wife.
Right.
That drink is his first love and his first wife. The second, or the wife of now, whoever doesn't enjoy the drinking, they're playing second fiddle
Right.
to the alcohol every day.
So we got to have God's word in our heart. You know, let me tell you, stuff like that truly only leads to ruin.
Yeah.
So
It really does.
is that what you want?
No.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Verse 8, 9 says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice. You know, we got to be aware of the people around us.
Well, we are judged by how we regard the most vulnerable among us.
Yes,
And we deserve that judgment.
yes.
Because we can stand against being cruel.
Right.
There's no other word for it, just cruel.
And we need to be aware of other people's feelings, and that's really lacking in the church today.
Yeah.
It's all about, well, I didn't get fed, I don't feel, you know, this, me, that, me, you know, and we got somebody sitting next to us that we could really minister to if we just get our eyes off ourselves and get them on somebody else.
That's a whole topic
Yeah.
that we need to we need to talk about that one of these days.
Yes.
But let's go on, because
Okay.
I want us to be sure that we cover this.
Yeah, so we're going to talk now. This starts the lessons from Virtuous Women is what I titled this.
That's what I like.
Now, verse 10 through 12. It says, who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her,
Okay.
and she will greatly enrich her life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Now, pick which one you want out of that.
I want to take verse 11.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I believe this is something we skip over. the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her. That's King James.
Yep.
Old King James, but listen to it. Doth safely trust in her. Okay. This is a area where the church could really come into some help for humanity. Help from humanity.
Yeah.
If you're a married woman, can your husband trust you to tell him everything you know that might impact your marriage? No secrets. That's why the writer says, the heart of her husband. Okay, because when a man finds out that his wife is keeping something, I don't care what it is, it may be just how much money they spent this afternoon or whatever that is, instead of it being okay, giving him the opportunity to say, okay, I'm glad you got that, we needed that, whatever. But, for her to keep it a secret, what else are you hiding?
But husbands are to trust their wives.
But trust is earned.
That's right, and it can be broken. I think when you get married, if you can't trust the woman, you shouldn't have married her. No. Okay, but so trust can be broken. So the wise word to the women would be, don't break that trust. But I would say the same thing to men. Don't you break that trust.
Right.
No one, in a marriage, there shouldn't be secrets.
They really shouldn't.
Okay? But let me tell you, it starts out by saying, how to find a virtuous and capable wife. Well, let me tell you, once you find one, don't forget about her. And don't forget how valuable she is.
I see more marriages where the wife becomes the enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he can't live like he wants to.
Yes.
And so the church really needs to be teaching this more. This in verse 12 says, she will do him good and not evil all the days of this says her life, but it means their life.
Right.
So she's, everything she does should be with will this help, will this enhance my family right here on the front burner?
And the husband ought to be, because it said, who can find this type of woman? You need to find that. Well, you know what? Let's just go over there. Where do you find that type of woman? Well, I always tell people, because I've had a lot of young men tell me, says, where do I find a wife? I said, I'll tell you where I found mine.
Not in the junkyard.
Nope, it was in church.
Right. You said that last week. I love that. Don't go to the junkyard.
That's right.
What could be the junkyard? The bars.
The clubs,
Yeah.
all the wild parties, all that kind of stuff.
Office.
Yeah,
Be careful of that office.
Oh, yeah. Guys, let me tell you, you need to be careful. But find a virtuous woman. Once you find her, that's when you can trust her. That's when all these other things take place in your life. That wife should be a lifelong companion. And yes, God's intention was one man, one woman for a lifetime. Not until
it says right here.
you got tired.
Yeah.
Or you looked somewhere else. Quit looking.
Yeah. Don't be disillusioned. Work
Right.
it out. Work it out. I mean, there's so much help for couples nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That just in my lifetime, I've seen a huge change in the help that's available
Right.
to people struggling in their marriage relationship.
Well, it was, I think his last name's Chapman. He wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah.
If you've never read that, you need both. You and your man and woman both need to read that book.
Right.
Because, the concept, I'll go through it real quick, is everybody speaks a different language of love. Okay? And he lists 5 different ones it can be. And I tell you what, I read that, and it's true. Okay? But the precept is, if I speak one language and my wife speaks another,
Right.
I'm telling her I love her in my language, but she doesn't understand my language. She never hears I love you. Mm-hmm. And she can do the same thing. Tell me I love you in her language. If I don't understand her language, well then I don't hear I love you. So what we need to do is learn each other's language.
What is it that gives me peace?
Yes.
In my marriage?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and this is just something we just need to teach in the church.
So I hope he thanks me for that on his book there, because it is a good book. Verse 13 through looks like 15. It says, she finds wool and flax and busily spins it. She is like a merchant ship bringing her food from afar. She gets up before dawn to prepare breakfast for her household and plan the day's work for her servant girls. Now, guys, let me tell you.
That's tough.
And I'll be honest, Debbie, my wife, makes me tired just watching her.
Yeah, because she does so much.
She's always on the move doing something.
Let me tell you about Debbie. She's quiet.
Yes.
She never makes a fuss. She just gets up, goes over there, and does some things. I've watched her when I've come to do these with Pastor Charlie. She is just amazing. That's all I can say. She handles the whole school that's back there, plus y'all's own ministry. I'm amazed.
Yes, and let me tell you, at home, I understand this. This and busily spends it. Sometimes I've asked Debbie, I'm going like, why don't you sit down a minute?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm saying that because I'm concerned about her, but maybe I'm concerned about how bad she's making me look.
She's making me feel bad.
And guys, just because you may be the head, because this is to the fathers, okay? So, and just not fathers, by the way, it's men. Okay.
Men learn this before you become a father.
Yes. On Mother's Day, we honor all women.
Yeah.
Not just mothers, because all women can be physically mothers, but they also most of the times are spiritual mothers. So even when they don't have any children, they mother people.
Yes.
So, and same thing with fathers. We want to honor all men, whether you're a father yet or not, or maybe never be. You need to learn these things because most of us will have a spouse.
Right.
So whether you're the head, you may think you're the head of the family, but let me tell you, that doesn't mean your wife can't handle things for the family. I've had couples ask me, said, well, which one should handle the finances? And I said, well, which one of you can keep a budget?
Well, I always say both.
Yeah.
One's got to spend and one's got to save.
Yeah. But it's good to have the one that's actually taking care of the budget that understands a budget.
Yeah, but...
But now I'm not saying the other one can't have a say in what to spend and stuff like that.
No, they should sit down and work that out.
Yeah, they got to work that out. But let me tell you, if you're not good in math, don't do your checking account, okay? Unless you got it on a computer. You got it on a computer, it will add and subtract for you.
And one of the smartest things I've heard recently is that this one couple, boy, they fought over money all the time. So they went to a bookkeeper. And they made the bookkeeper, they just took all their stuff and both of them just handed it to the bookkeeper and said, we will see you once a month. We will pay you for this, but we need you to keep our records for us because we just can't. Mm-hmm. And it just it was a
relieved the tension.
Yeah, right. And it gave him, a good customer. But on the other hand, what it did was it brought into the marriage the number one thing that every marriage needs, and that is accountability.
Yeah, that's right. So if her being busy, your wife, doing the flax and spinning it, and like bringing in the food, and gets up before dawn and fixing food and stuff, but most people eat more than just once, but so fixing breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right. If that's not enough, well, let's go on to verse 16. It says, she goes to inspect a field and buys it. With her earnings, she plans a vineyard.
Yeah.
She is energetic and strong, a hard worker. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Her lamp burns late into the night. Now, let me tell you,
That's a woman, man.
I think
woman.
that is the picture of women.
Well, good. I'm glad you think that.
Yeah,
Because,
I really do, because
I know
most
some women
women
like
are
this.
like that.
however, let me throw in a however.
Okay,
She does it with a good attitude.
that's right.
She has a kind voice. She does everything that she does as unto the Lord. Not to lord it over anyone, but as unto the Lord.
You know what makes that easier?
What?
Is if the husband is appreciative what she does.
I think so too.
You know, a lot of men, they don't look at all this hard work that they're doing. They don't look at, okay, now today we've got double income families. So the wife, a lot of times, has a job outside the home,
Yeah.
which that kind of sounds like that was talking about. She's going to go buy land and do all this,
Yeah.
So, but she's still getting up before dawn.
Right.
Is still fixing breakfast, still taking care of clothes, still taking care of this, still taking care of that, making sure the kids get to where they need to, still doing all that.
And
We need to be appreciative of what they do.
But let me talk to the women for a minute. Don't forget that your kids know if you're up before they are, if you are in there fixing their lunches or their breakfast or whatever they need in the morning. Don't let them go to school with you still laying in the bed. Now, my dad fixed my breakfast
Yeah.
because I had to get up real early to practice the piano.
Oh, okay.
And my mother was not good about getting up in the morning. She would stay up on a lot later than him, but she was in there doing stuff late at night
Right.
to make it easier for him
For
to do
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning. So
Well, if they had that worked out,
that's it.
You know,
Yes,
you
but what I thought about her for years, because she didn't get up in the morning, is that she was lazy.
because you didn't see the work she did at night.
No, I didn't. And
Yeah.
I want to say there's a lot of people that live on different sides of the clock.
Right.
They don't know 8 o'clock happens twice a day.
That's right.
So,
Okay, 19 through 21 says, her hands are busy spinning thread. Here she goes again.
yeah.
Her fingers twisting fiber. She extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy.
Okay.
She has no fear of winter for her household, for everyone has warm clothes.
I want to say something about, in the New Testament, there's a woman that's highly thought of in the book of Acts whose name is Lydia.
Yes.
And Lydia was this kind of woman.
Yes.
Now, she seems to have gone a little bit beyond that in what she did as far as how much money she made. But by making all that money, she didn't just go out and buy cars and houses and stuff like that. She helped Paul. She underwrote
That's
a
right.
lot of what Paul's work in Turkey, what we now know as Turkey. She underwrote a lot of that.
22 through 24, we've only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Says, she makes her own bedspreads. She dresses in fine linen and purple gowns. Her husband is well known at the city gates, where he sits with the other civic leaders. She makes belted linen garments and sashes to sell them to the merchants. Guys, don't forget, compliment your wife.
Look at all the things
tell
she
her,
does here.
tell her that you appreciate her, that you love her. Notice the things that she does. You sat down there to eat.
Yeah.
Was it good? Tell her.
Did you fix it?
Yeah.
No. Well, who did?
Yeah.
Well, compliments to the chef.
That's right. I am so thankful for the things that Debbie does. And she does so much. And it actually frees me to do what God's called me to do.
Right.
So guys, we can't forget those things. She supports her husband so well that what is he doing? Sitting at the city gates.
Right. Now,
with
he's a
those leaders.
He's probably a city politician.
Yes.
And he cannot be bothered with a whole lot of domestic stuff if he's going to be running the city.
That's right.
But, Mike, that doesn't necessarily have to be so literal. He might have just a good job that needs a lot of overtime. Jason Disney talks about this all the time. He says, I don't want to work overtime because it takes me away from my family, but the money is so good, I need the money. And so I love it that he just says, here's my conundrum.
Dilemma. Yeah. So, guys, I want you to read verse 25 all the way to the end. I want to give you the highlights real quick that I got out of these. Men have a lot to learn from this kind of woman.
All right.
Men need to be men of strength, dignity, and faith. Men need to pay more attention to what's going on around the family.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? Your children will learn how to treat, your sons.
Yeah.
Your sons will learn how to treat their wife by the way you treat your wife. Now, if you got daughters, your daughters will look for a husband that treats her like you treat your wife, her mom.
Right.
So if you treat them bad, let me tell you, she's going to end up in a bad marriage. Chances are.
Yeah. We've seen that over and over.
It happens all the time. Guys, the bottom line is we need to praise our wives. This will keep her and you both from being tempted. As we grow older, we change. Okay? Beauty is fleeting, and that's basically what the last 30 and 31 says. Charm is deceptive, beauty does not last. Okay? Let me tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Debbie is as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than that young 17-year-old girl that I fell in love with.
Well, she looks amazingly like that.
Yes.
I've seen a picture of her when she was younger.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, but I'm telling you, she's got, because now I have grown to really appreciate her. And you know what? I'm glad to say Debbie and I have been married 50 years now.
50 years.
50 years. It'll be 51 in September.
Wow.
I'm calling this is our year of Jubilee.
Jubilee,
yeah.
right.
Let's face it, as we get older, we change. But let's focus on what really matters. I know that I can depend on her no matter what. No matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter what happens, I know I can depend on her.
Well, there's your answer right there. And I'm speaking to the women. Do you know that your husband wants to depend on you, needs to depend on you? Then make sure that he can depend on you.
Yes. And husbands, the way that happens is you are in charge of a lot of that. How you treat her, how you receive what she does. All those things will make a happy marriage. And that's what I wanted to really bring out in this. Because, let me tell you, the children praised her. That husband did also. Okay? That really needs to happen. And I look at it from a man's point of view and see you're getting a benefit from Melanie's point of view because she's looking at the woman's side. I'm looking at the man's side. And, I have been on jobs where men just run their women down, and I keep telling them, you're going to get what you're calling out. The way that you're saying about her, that's the way that she's going to act. If you treat her right, if you build the marriage up, things will be better.
If I ever catch anybody talking bad about their wife, the only question I ask them, I just say, can I ask you a question? Did you choose her? Why?
And if you say, well, she is a bad choice. Well, she chose you.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. So, but that's going to bring us to the end. We may have run over a minute or two, but that's all right. It's worth it. Read Proverbs 31 again, whether you're a woman or a man, but look at the other gender as you do it. If you're a woman, look at how the man should be doing in that. If you're a man, look at what the woman does. Appreciate each other, and that will make happy families.
And by the way, both of you should go to church a lot.
Go to church a lot. So until next time, good night. God bless.
Thank you for watching, and remember, be in church tomorrow. If you don't have a home church, you really need to find one. The church needs you, and you really need the church.